Hello there. I'd like to speak with you today in regards to setting boundaries for stress management. This information is coming from verywellmind.com. It's written by Elizabeth Scott and reviewed by Rachel Goldman. So setting boundaries is not always easy. It's a process, letting people know where your needs are and your limits are. It can often be or feel stressful, especially for those who are not used to it. So when people are used to relationship boundaries, that at a certain point they can put up a barrier, a defense if you try to change your boundaries with them. And people, for example, children can often test those boundaries. So this can be all stressful, especially when you are taking into account stress levels. However, though, the end result can be worth it. Relationships that involve greater levels of mutual respect, that meet the needs of all parties involved, and that create much less stress for everyone. The first step in creating a boundary or setting a boundary is to gain an understanding of where your own personal boundaries lay. So, for example, like how comfortable are you with getting close or having people getting close to you and taking certain liberties? So, the first clue is the feeling you get when your boundaries have been violated. Different people have different boundaries. Something that may bother one person may not bother you, vice versa. Therefore, it is important to communicate effectively to others where your comfort levels are and those discomfort levels as well. So there are some general guidelines when it comes to becoming more aware of your own personal boundaries. This is not all encompassing. These are some signs that you may want to kind of look into working on boundaries for self. So if you're feeling resentful of people asking too much of you, and it seems to be happening more times than not or too often. If you're finding yourself feeling resentful because you're doing more for others than they do for you, you're finding yourself saying yes to things you rather not do just to avoid upsetting or disappointing another person. If you find yourself feeling that most of what you do for other people, they may not even appreciate it that much. If you're tending to keep most people at arm's length because you're afraid of letting them get too close or overwhelming you, if the stress you feel from disappointing others is greater than the stress of doing things that inconvenience or drain you in an effort to please them. So, something that's important to keep mindful of is questions to kind of ask yourself, right? Your feelings in general, they can help you in deciding whether or not a boundary needs to be set. So, some questions that you can ask specifically in situations that may have or may support you in navigating through the future ones or those difficult moments is, if nobody would be disappointed, would you prefer to say yes or no? Is it precedent that you want to set? If not, where would a reasonable place to draw the line be? Would you feel comfortable imposing the same request to someone else? Looking at all the benefits and the costs of the situation, both tangible and intangible, is it worth the effort to say yes? If people become upset with you if you said no, do you truly feel like they're coming from a respectful, reasonable place? Think of someone you feel has a healthy boundary, the kind that you would like to emulate. How do you think they would respond in this situation? So once you've determined how you're feeling, you can decide if you do indeed wish to set a boundary. In a perfect world, once we are aware uh, of where our personal comfort zones lay, um, we would then simplify to or let's rephrase that simply, communicate what that information to others may be, and setting those boundaries within the context of your relationship, right? And using the word relationship as a wide kind of definition. So quite often though, boundary setting involves some let's see, negotiation. And it does not always kind of go so smoothly. People have boundaries of their own that may not match, and they may push for a greater distance or closeness of for their own reasons. So changing boundaries from status quo can also put people kind of in a place to react by trying to reinforce the previous or existing boundary, sometimes in ways that makes us feel uncomfortable. This is where boundary settings can be a struggle. Because we need to think of our own needs as well as the needs and reactions of others. It is important to be kind of able to negotiate those boundaries. So something to kind of be aware of, or questions to kind of ask yourself in being taking into account practical factors. Is it fair here? In the context of the relationship, and again, that word relationship can be a friendship. It can actually be, a romantic relationship. It can be a business partnership. However you define relationship. Have you committed to this, or is the expectation that the other person is placing on you? If you're kind of setting a boundary and feel like the other person is unreasonable and pushing back with the boundary, are you willing to let the relationship go rather than feel hurt or your boundary mismatched? Also, if you were kind of in the position of the other person, would the solution still appear to be fair? It is important to note that you'll likely be weighing on your feelings than the feelings of the other person, because you must live with your decisions after kind of like making them. So also we want to be mindful that though it may feel stressful or uncomfortable in the moment, once you decide to set a boundary and or put a boundary into place, it minimizes some of the stress. Kind of working on boundary strategies and assertive communication techniques can also bring some positive results in your life. So I think the takeaway from this is just be mindful of how you're feeling, the boundaries that you're setting. If you're feeling like you're needing support and or some type of assistance in exploring, identifying what those boundaries are, and then implementing ways that you can hone in or strengthen those boundaries, I would definitely say seek the support and assistance of a mental health provider that will be able to support you through that process. So I hope this information was of assistance for you today, and I hope you enjoy the remainder of your day.